Oh, we do see the legible copies of yesterday's documents. Thank you very much, Ms. Killian.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Or do you want to tell us now what the position is?
Thank you for the indulgence and the extra time allowed to consult with General Sibiya. We have come to the agreement, that's myself, my client, and my attorney, that he will continue reading into the record his affidavit. If there are one or two additional things that arise, we will consider a supplementary affidavit over the weekend. It is not cast in stone that that is what we will do, because there was just simply too little time to consider each and every subject that should be scrutinized to find its way into a supplementary. If we do resort to a supplementary, my undertaking is that it will be very brief. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Killian. Yes, Ms. Hassim?
Thank you, Chair. We can return then to the statement. General, you were at paragraph, you had just completed paragraph 257.
I forgot, Ms. Hassim, you'll assist
Sorry,
us
Chair,
with,
so I
with
forgot
where
as
all
well.
of these should go. Yeah.
I meant to say this is the more legible
Yes,
version
yes,
of
yes.
SS 28.
Oh, all right. Perhaps your junior will mark them for us and stick them, or even the instructing attorney, the attorneys, stick them where they should go.
We'll ask the attorneys to attend to
Yes,
it.
yes. Thank you. Yes, General?
Thank you, Chair. I have the dates of the trip to Cape Town that I should read into the court record as I proceed. It was from the 5th of January 2025 when we left for Cape Town, and arrived in Cape Town on the 5th of January, and then we left Cape Town on the 12th and arrived at Pretoria on the 12th of January 2025. Those are the dates, Sir.
Oh, thank you, General.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I must resume from which paragraph, Evidence Leader?
Yes, you had just completed 257, so you're now on 258.
On the 2nd of December 2025, my attorneys were served with a further search, access, and seizure warrant, warrant 2, authorized on the 1st of December 2025 by Mutau J, pursuant to a second ex parte application launched by Brigadier Kunene under the same case number. Upon consideration of that application, it is apparent that the founding affidavit is, in all material respect, a duplication of the affidavit used in the first ex parte application, save that the number of alleged suspects was increased without explanation, and additional non-SAPS individuals were authorized to participate in the search and seizure operation.
General, were you able to clarify? You were going to check whether that this is accurate, the non-SAPS individuals.
I am able to clarify, and I was clarified, and I'm quite comfortable with what is in the paragraph.
Okay.
On the 8th of December 2025, I launched an application for the rescission of the order granted ex parte by the Honorable Mutau J on 1st December 2025 on the basis that the resort to an ex parte procedure, particularly in respect of the second ex parte application, was improper, unjustified, and constituted an abuse of process designed to obtain intrusive relief without proper notice of or judicial scrutiny. This application is still pending. I'm advised that both search and seizure applications and warrant are beset by material defects, either in the manner in which the warrants were obtained or in the execution thereof. In my view, These cumulative irregularities demonstrate a concerted and improper attempt to obtain incriminating material against me, rather than a bona fide investigative process. The manner in which Warrant 1 was executed, including the disproportionate deployment of force and authority and the associated media presence, gives rise to a reasonable inference that the operation was not conducted in a measured or purely investigative manner. Viewed objectively, these circumstances tend to create the perception that the execution of the warrant was calculated to cause reputational harm to me, rather than being confined to what was strictly necessary for the lawful investigative purposes. This event have in turn resulted in extremely social media reporting and commentary, effectively giving rise to a trial by social media, which has, I know it says by trial by media, but it's a typo. It was meant to be social media, which has been materially detriment to me, both personally and professionally. Much of this reporting has been inaccurate and misleading and has amplified reputational harm arising from the manner in which the warrants were executed, rather than reflecting a fair or fact-based account of the underlying events. Now, I'm going to the overall effectiveness or failure of oversight mechanisms within the SAPS. Paragraph 263. Part of the terms of reference of this commission includes an inquiry into the effectiveness or failure of oversight mechanisms within the criminal justice system, as well as the role played by any member of the national executive responsible for the criminal justice system. This encompasses an examination of whether such persons were complicit in, aided or abetted, or otherwise participated in alleged criminal activities, whether they failed to act on credible intelligence or internal warnings, and whether they derived any financial or political benefit from such activities. In such section of my affidavit, I accordingly address conduct within the leadership structures of SAPS, which in my view warrants scrutiny within the scope of the Commission's mandate. Overtime claims in respect of my protection. I became aware of an application for overtime payment in respect of the period 1 May 2023 to 31st of May 2023, allegedly relating to the protection service rendered to me by Warrant Officer Monageng and Warrant Officer Sekhodi, which application was approved by General Sintumule. I attach here to marked Annexer SS37 a copy of the information notice reflecting this application, as well as the purported hours of overtime allegedly worked. The application records overtime purportedly worked during May 2023 by Warrant Officer Monageng and Warrant Officer Sekhodi for my protection. This is incorrect. During the period in question, I neither requested nor was allocated any protection service, and no protection details was assigned to me. At no stage during May 2023 did Warrant Officer Monageng or Warrant Officer Sekhodi or any other member of the SAPS perform overtime duties for my protection. The overtime reflected in this application was therefore not rendered as recorded. Upon becoming aware of the existence or an approval of this application, I referred the matter to the Independent Police Investigation Directorate for investigation. The application proposed to claim overtime for services that were not requested, not authorized by me, and not performed. The approval of such application in the absence of any factual basis raises serious concerns regarding the accuracy and integrity of the approving authority and the lawfulness of the payment claim. The foregoing raises the question as to how General Sintumule approved the overtime claim in the absence of any verification that protection service were requested, allocated, or rendered, notwithstanding that such verification would have been readily ascertainable. As the approving authority, General Sintumula was required to exercise due diligence to ensure that overtime claims were supported by objective proof that services were authorized and rendered. This would ordinarily include verification of protection allocation records, duty rosters, or confirmation from the protected member. None of this appeared to have been undertaken prior approval of the claim. The approval of an overtime claim in these circumstances is not a minor administrative lapse. It implicates systemic weaknesses in financial and operational controls, particularly where claims relate to protection services, which are sensitive, strictly regulated, and easily verifiable. The approval of such a claim without basic verification raises legitimate concerns about whether oversight mechanisms were functioning as intended. At the minimum, the approval of the application reflects a reckless disregard for the verification obligations attendant upon the approving authority. At worst, it raises the possibility that the approval was granted with knowledge that the service claimed had not been rendered. These are matters that properly fell within the investigative remit of IPIT. Now moving over to governance and oversight issues arising from close personal relationship with the Office of the National Commissioner. I have on numerous occasions received complaints from various members of the South African Police Service regarding allegations of nepotism and preferential treatment within the Office of the National Commissioner. In this regard, I have prepared a presentation which I take the Commission to and which is attached here too, marked SS38, setting out the familial and personal relationship between certain individuals employed within the Office of the National Commissioner. I raise these issues because the existence of close familial personal relationship within a single executive office warrants scrutiny from a governance and oversight perspective, not because such relationships are inherently improper, but because of the heightened risk they pose to objectivity, accountability, and the effective functioning of internal controls. Where reporting lines, decision-making authority, or access to sensitive information intersect with personal relationship, there is an increased risk of perceived or actual conflict of interest, preferential treatment, and weakened oversight in an institution such as SAPS, which exercises extensive coercive powers and manages substantial public resources. The maintenance of transparent, impartial, and robust governance structures is essential to public confidence and institutional integrity. It is for these reasons that the relationship reflected in Access SS38 warrant careful examination within the scope of the Commission's mandate. In amplification of the above, it is noteworthy that the conduct and role of the other Deputy National Commissioners have not been examined by this Commission, despite the Commission's mandate to scrutinize senior leadership within the South African Police Service and the effectiveness of oversight mechanism at that level. In particular, the Deputy National Commissioner responsible for Policing, General Musikidi, who was implicated in an incident at a macro store, in which it was alleged that she attempted to purchase household appliance through informal means and was subsequently deceived by two individuals who allegedly provided her with empty boxes after she had paid them an amount of 10,000. Following this incident, General Musikidi opened a criminal case of theft against the two individuals, alleging that her belongings had been stolen while they were assisting her to load groceries into the vehicle. The two individuals were arrested, after which General Musigiri later withdrew the charges of theft against these two individuals. The matter was thereafter referred to IPID, which commenced an inquiry into General Musigiri's conduct arising from the incident, notwithstanding the referral to IPID and the existence of an ongoing investigation. An internal report prepared on the instruction of the National Commissioner subsequently cleared General Musigiri of any wrongdoing. What is of concern from a governance and oversight perspective is the apparent disparity in the manner in which this matter was addressed. When contrasted with the scrutiny applied to other senior SAPS officials, despite the seriousness of the allegations and the fact that the matter had been referred to IPID for independent investigation, an internal report commissioned at the instance of the National Commissioner purported to exonerate General Musigiri. This raises legitimate questions as to the consistency, independence, and robustness of internal accountability mechanism within the SAPS, and whether similar standard of scrutiny are applied uniformly across senior leadership. In or about April 2024, the Public Service Commission issued a report in terms of Section 194 of the Constitution concerning allegations of appointment irregularities at the SAPS. In that report, the Public Service Commission concluded that the promotion of General Sibiya to the position of head executive support and internal relations was irregular. A copy of the PSC report is attached here to marked as SS39. Subsequent engagement took place between, I'm reading throughout. Subsequent engagements took place between SAPS and the PSC regarding this finding. This engagement culminated in the preparations of an information note by Lieutenant General Dineo Nkua, the Divisional Commissioner Human Resource Management, in which SAPS records its disagreement with the PSC's conclusion. In the information note, SAPS maintains that the appointment of General Sibiya was effected in compliance with the applicable legislative framework and with the requisite authorization of the Minister of Police. A copy of the information note as well as the related correspondence is attached here to marked Annexa SS40. The apparent disjuncture between the findings of the Public Service Commission and the position adopted by SAPS management reflects a broader institutional weakness in internal governance control, particularly in relation to senior appointments, compliance with prescripts, and a clear delineation of authority. Effective governance within SAPS requires that oversight finding be meaningfully engaged with remedial steps be taken where irregularities are identified, and that executive authority be exercised in a manner that is demonstrably consistent with the constitutional and legislative obligations. A further point of concern for me is that General Sintumule has publicly denied having an association with Madlanga. This denial is, however, difficult to reconcile with information that has come to my attention. In particular, it appears that Madlanga was invited on the instruction of General Sintumule to attend the SAPS Service Excellence Award, and that the donation was accepted from his company Medicare 24 in connection with that event. I am in possession of a WhatsApp communication which indicate that General Sintumule instructed Major General Manamela to extend an invitation to Madlanga to attend the Service Excellence Award. In or about 2024, it is further alleged that 10 free refrigerators were accepted by General Sintumule as a donation from Medi 24. I am also informed that Madlanga and his wife were invited to General Sintumule's private residence prior to a relocation, to a trip to Cape Town, not relocation. It's a typo.
Sorry, General. The refrigerator donation was to the SAPS or to her personally?
It's to the SAPS during the Excellence Awards. Those are the fridges that will be given to the best performer on this or that.
Thank you.
In addition, it has been alleged that General Sintumule personally benefited from Matlala in circumstances that were not disclosed. These allegations include that certain elective medical procedures were performed by medical practitioners, the cost of which were paid for by Mr. Matlala. I am advised that these benefits were not declared through any formal disclosure. I raise these matters because...
Sorry, General, just before you move on, when you say it has been alleged, who alleges this?
Firstly, I think we had a witness here that spoke about certain senior managers who received BBL. And then in my case, what I said, where I said that because I work with her every day, I had to give her off. Sometimes because she could not sit, even in the car, even in the office, because she could not work. She had to always, at all times, be standing the whole day because she was not supposed to sit. And I even advised her to work from home. So as to the question as to who alleges, sometimes I shouldn't at this point in time maybe disclose who gave me the information, but I am able to give to the commission if I have to give, I'm forced to give it to the commission because sometimes people's lives could be in danger as well.
Well, I think you should provide to us where you get information from. Otherwise, it just is this allegation that's written in the passive tense. It has been alleged. So I would ask that you do give us that information. You can give it to us during the adjournment, if you wish.
Yes, may I come back maybe the next morning with that response, Chair, so that I consult extensively in that regard.
Continue.
I raise these matters because if established, they would raise serious concerns relating to conflict of interest, disclosure obligations, and the integrity of governance and oversight mechanism within the SAPS. I accordingly place these matters before the Commission for consideration insofar as they may be relevant to its mandate to examine ethical governance, accountability, and the effectiveness of internal safeguards within the senior leadership of the SAPS. The National Commissioner's leadership style. The National Commissioner's approach to conflict resolution has on a number of occasions reflected inconsistency and apparent partiality, particularly in matters involving General Khumalo and myself. Although the National Commissioner acknowledged my concerns regarding being undermined and bypassed by General Khumalo, his interventions were largely limited and reactive rather than proactive or corrective. In one instance, I was advised that certain issues should not be raised publicly or in the presence of junior officials. While this guidance is understandable from the perspective of maintaining hierarchy and discipline, its practical effect was that the conduct complained of was not addressed, thereby allowing the situation to persist without consequences. The National Commissioner's approach in these circumstances appeared to have the preservation of long-standing personal relationship over the consistent enforcement of accountability, proper governance, and command discipline. During a visit to Cape Town, the National Commissioner convened a private meeting with the Provincial Commissioner of Crime Intelligence from the Free State. It was the Provincial Commissioner, and then it was the Provincial Commissioner of Free State, and then the Provincial Head of Crime Intelligence, and several senior crime intelligence officials. Despite my position as the Deputy National Commissioner responsible for crime intelligence, and notwithstanding that operational oversight of these matters fell squarely within my mandate, I was neither invited nor informed of this meeting. The meeting proceeded for approximately an hour in my absence. This exclusion had the effect of undermining my authority and bypassing established oversight and command structures. It further illustrates a pattern in which informal and decision-making were centralized, while institutionally mandated oversight roles were marginalized to the detriment of transparent, accountable, and effective governance within South African Police Service.
You said informal, I think it's information. 3 lines from the top, 3 lines from the bottom.
Which information and decision-making were centralized, while institutionally mandated oversight roles were marginalized to the detriment of transparent, accountable, and effective governance within South African Police Service. A further concerning example of inappropriate conduct relates to the National Commissioner's engagement with my former wife, Ms. Christine Bonang Ngwenya. Without my knowledge or consent, the National Commissioner disclosed to her allegation that I was lobbying for his position and investigating the former Minister of Police, Begitele. He further instructed her not to disclose this information to me. This conduct circumvented established... This conduct circumvented established professional and institutional channels and constituted a clear breach of appropriate boundaries by drawing a personal relationship into an internal professional dispute. It had the effect of undermining my standing within the service, compromising trust, and exacerbating tensions in circumstances that ought properly to have been addressed through formal and accountable mechanism. The National Commissioner's conduct reflects a pattern of unequal application of accountability standard. While I face suspension and intense scrutiny, General Mkhwanazi remained in his office despite serious criminal allegations. He consistently protected General Khumalo despite documented complaints and misconduct, allowing him to continue influencing crime intelligence operations without consequences. This disparity in treatment reinforces concerns regarding selective enforcement, inconsistent consequences management, and the erosion of principled leadership within the service. Overall, the leadership approach of the National Commissioner may be characterized as predominantly reactive rather than proactive, marked by partiality and the protection of personal alliances, the centralization of decision-making authority, inconsistent communication, and a tolerance for the persistence of misinformation and reputational harm. In conclusion, I wish to express my sincere gratitude to the Commission for affording me the opportunity to place evidence before it on matters of significant public importance that affect the country, as well as issues that have had a profound impact on my professional career. I have approached this process in the spirit of transparency and cooperation, mindful of the Commission's mandate to examine systemic weaknesses, accountability failures, and the effectiveness of oversight within the criminal justice system. This process is grounded in the Constitution of South Africa, which requires that all exercises of public power be lawful, accountable, and transparent, and that institutions entrusted with policing and criminal justice operate without fear, favor, or prejudice. It is my hope that the Commission's findings will assist the President in safeguarding against the use of public funds and state resources for purposes unrelated to the constitutional mandate of the criminal justice system, including the pursuit of personal vendettas, factional interest, or succession battles, but are instead deployed solely in furtherance of the constitutional imperatives of accountability, impartiality, and the public interest. The misuse of state institutions and resources for such purposes undermines the rule of law, erodes public confidence in law enforcement agencies, and diverts scarce resources away from their constitutional mandate to prevent, combat, and investigate crime. Furthermore, it is incumbent upon leadership, not only within the criminal justice system, but across the public service more broadly, to remain constantly mindful of the people they are entrusted to serve. Public office demands that the interests of the public be placed above personal ambition, factional consideration, or internal contest for power, and that state resources are never deployed to advance such interests. Section 195 of the Constitution requires accountability, ethical conduct, and fidelity to the public interest in the exercise of all public power. I accordingly trust that the Commission's findings and recommendations will assist in strengthening oversight, restoring institutional integrity, and ensuring that the criminal justice system serves the people of South Africa rather than personal or factional agendas. The Bill of Rights is a foundational pillar of South Africa's constitutional democracy. It affirms the rights of all persons and entrenches the value of human dignity, equality, and freedom. Where law enforcement agencies are captured, manipulated, or utilized to shield certain individuals from accountability or to target others for improper or ulterior purposes, the constitutional rights of those unjustly accused are directly and seriously infringed. Such conduct is incompatible with the Constitution and cannot be countenanced, as it undermines the rule of law and the legitimacy of the criminal justice system itself. Finally, I trust that the evidence I have presented will assist the Commission in the fulfillment of its constitutional and statutory responsibilities, while also providing a fair and balanced context to matters that have had a profound and ongoing impact on my professional career and personal integrity. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you, General.
Thank you, General. Now that we've completed this statement and your evidence from your perspective, there are several areas in respect of which we have questions. But let's begin at the top of your statement before we get to the topic of disbandment. You spent some amount of time taking the Commission through a history of complaints or investigations against you. There are about 6 of them that you've listed going back to 2015. Is it correct that each of these complaints against you were brought at different times in different work environments?
Correct.
And if I recall correctly, the first is the dismissal by the Hawks in 2015. Is that right?
Correct.
Then the rendition matter. Then the alleged fraudulent travel claims, allegations of high treason, the public protector investigation, the whole investigation into the city of Johannesburg, your appointment, salary, procurement of equipment, and then finally your suspension.
Correct.
From the service last year.
Correct.
And I take it you don't suggest, therefore, that there is one person that is orchestrating these complaints or one group that's orchestrating these complaints against you. Is that correct, if I were to say that?
It's not correct.
So the reason you provided this is to say there is an orchestrated campaign?
Yes, and I gave a clear background in that regard, where it stems from, and as a continuation of what happened and the role players. So I substantiated where I come from. Okay, but when you say it's orchestrated, who do you say is orchestrating it? Because you've agreed that they all happen at different points in time over the last 11 years, in different work environments, brought by different people. Chairpersons, I don't think I need to go any far other than to refer the commissioners to the court papers themselves. Starting from the rendition when they were, starting from Judge Matoja and all the judges that were involved and their comments about what happened, my involvement, whether I was involved or not, leading up to the CT where all the judges where my matters were presented ruled in my favor, and based on the fact that there's no evidence against me or I was not even involved.
I accept that. I'm not saying that you are guilty of any, I'm not commenting on the merits of any of those complaints. I'm talking more about the purpose for which you've put it before this commission. You're saying because it's orchestrated. So that suggests that there's one person or one group of people that's doing this, and I'm asking you, and you're saying, yes, that's true.
Yes.
So who's the person?
I underlined political interference in my judgments. And then now I indicated commissioners and said, it is this political party, the MK party, that started the marches, that opened criminal cases, that to it around my buildings. Now, and then I also even went to an extent of mentioning that the same minister who was the minister at the time I was expelled, I'm dealing with the same minister who is actually behind the political party that is actually dealing with my situation.
So the answer to the question is, it's the MK party.
Well, it's one of them.
And who else?
One of them, remember there are many role players at different stages.
Okay, so there isn't one person or one grouping, there are several groupings.
Yes.
Okay, thanks. I just wanted to be clear on that. Then we hear from you on the issue of disbandment, and you have said disbandment of the political killings task team. When did you first find out about the decision to disband?
When the letter was circulated in media, we all saw it.
When it was circulated in the media?
Yes.
So that was immediately?
I think it was on the
much.
same day, the 31st.
But you also said that you weren't surprised with that decision.
Yes.
And the reason you are not surprised is because, for one, you referred to the Murray report. And your evidence was that this was part of the discussion. This was foreshadowed in the Murray report.
No. I'm not basing my response based on the Murray report. There was a build-up of a series of meetings that happened, including the Murray report was part of the whole thing.
Yes, so I'm not saying it's the only thing. I'm saying it was one of the events.
I'll feel comfortable when we talk about the fact that there was a build-up. There's been several meetings and consultations, so it never could come as a surprise because it wasn't just a shock.
Yes. But I want to probe further. We've heard you say that, but I want to understand from you that one of the reasons you say it wasn't a surprise is because it was foreshadowed in the Murray report. And when you first referred to the Murray report yesterday, I asked you to take us to the part of the Murray report where it speaks about disbandment. And then we didn't dwell on it because we said we would return. And I'm returning to it now. So if we could just go to the Murray report.
What file is that, Ms. Hassan? File?
File 2A, I think Commissioner Kumalo is helping us. 776. Let me know when you're there, General.
Yes, I spent time last night. I marked it, and I marked the relevant sections that I know that maybe the evidence is referring to. So I just want to get to that point. Just bear with me. No, I want the one I clearly marked it. I'm almost there, Chair. All right.
All right, so you're going to take us to where it talks about disbandment.
Chair, I need assistance. I've got it where I marked it from, and then this where I marked it from the file that I was using at the ad hoc committee. But it's the same document that we have, the one that says evaluation of the implementation.
I see
your
General.
No, this is not, here's the file.
Oh,
Here's my file.
So, General, the document is your concern about the page references?
And the file, because I can read from here what I
What-
have to respond to the question.
May I make a suggestion, General? I see at the foot of each page, there is page 1 of 33, for example, page 12 of 33, and so on, at the foot of the page. So if you refer to that at the foot of the page, then we can find the relevant pages.
Is the pages your concern?
Page 11
Yes, okay.
of 33. I want to go to page 10. Oh, what is it?
Page 10 of 33.
Yeah, page 10 of 33. We're still talking about the Murray report.
Yes.
I want to go specifically to paragraph 6.4.5.
And that, for purposes of the record, that's paginated page 785 of the annexures.
Thank you, Chair. Yes.
This is the one they were looking for. Yes, and then you go to the relevant page 10. Page 10. I'm going to read few, select, I'm not going to go on it, but I'm going to select the relevant sections that I think will assist the Commission.
Yeah, so my question is if you could just take us to where in the Murray report it
Where
talks about disbandment of task teams and in particular the PKTT.
I wanna go to paragraph 6.4.4. Now we are at file. Okay, Madlanga Sibiya, Madlanga commissioned annexer. It's page 785.
Yes.
I am reading here paragraph 6.4 that says, it is evident that the historical specialized capacities are better implemented than the newly established unit. The unit that is the best capacitated according to the personnel strength, FCS 78%. Now, I want to skip that and say, followed by taxi violence capacity within the murder and robbery environment, But where I am interested is the West crime capacity, 25%, that is normally better off at 25%. Murder and robbery units are at 18%, and organized crime 28%. Now, when you go to 6.4.5, the reason for the establishment of these units was to ensure that provincial directed investigations could be conducted with the alternative function to also replace the numerous task teams that were functioning at provincial level. Now, when you talk about the numerous task teams that are functioning at provincial task teams, it includes the political killing task team. Now, next paragraph, it says, it is necessary to look at the status of this provincial investigation unit capacities and make a decision based on implementation of possibly to close down the capacities at provincial level. We're talking the task teams are the capacities at provincial level.
Pause there. You're saying, or possibly to close down the capacities at provincial level. You interpret that to mean task teams.
Yes, because we are building units now, but we have got this other extra capacities like your task teams that are mushrooming all over, and then they take away a lot of manpower and capacity to make sure that the provinces are strong.
So the plan is to establish these units. They're called PIUs,
re-establish
Provincial
the
Investigation Units.
And make them strong.
With a view to then taking over, incorporating the work of the task teams into the PIUs.
Yes.
Okay?
Now, let me finish my point so that I rest it. So now, there's a paragraph that says, this would also alleviate the need to establish a capacity without a need in the current circumstances where there are continuous budget cuts, especially for compensation. Closure of the provincial investigation unit would then relieve some pressure on an additional unit that needs to capacitate and resources. Now, in other words, if you were to take the money that you allocate into the task teams, you build capacity, you build your murder and robbery unit to be as prolific as what you say you have as a task team. Or take the same task team, put them in the same unit. Let this unit be a unit that function, but on their normal salary. Now you've got people, you've got units, they are not capacitated. You've got another unit that you put there. This unit that you put there, they claim 35,000 rand, 45,000 rand, overtime, extra money. And then yet you have established the murder and robbery unit.
Okay.
Only in one province.
So the point again is to establish units in order to increase the capacity of these units, and that would incorporate the work of task teams.
Yes.
Right. All task teams.
And throughout the country.
And throughout the country.
Yes.
Okay. And that was the plan. That's what this report was proposing.
Can I read the last?
You can first answer and then you can read. Do you agree that that was the plan that was being proposed in this report?
In the report, yes.
Okay, thanks. You can continue.
And then when you look at paragraph 6.4.51, it says, these task teams should be placed within the murder and robbery unit to capacitate and direct the focus on a permanent structure with the necessary command and control.
Sorry, General, I've lost you. Where are you reading from?
6.4.5.1, page 11.
Yes.
Now, it talks about the number of task teams that you can see.
I didn't see what you just read.
Bullet number 2, from line number 2.
That talks about multiple trio task teams. Why don't you start at the front, at the beginning of 6.4.5.1?
Okay. Why don't I start with?
The beginning. So the 6.4.5.1, what does that read, the first
The task
line?
teams that are not monitored run rampant for years without determining or accounting for the gap left where the members were taken from, mostly at station level. Task teams found operating in provinces are as follows. Now,
Okay,
it
wait,
gives-
let's
Yes.
just take it slowly. The first sentence is, task teams that are not monitored
Yes,
run rampant for years.
yes,
Without determining or counting for gap left, et cetera, et cetera.
yes.
Okay? So what this document is talking about is those that are not monitored. The political killings task team was monitored.
No, it was not.
Why do you say that?
Because if that was the case, we wouldn't be sitting with so many cases that are not attended since 2018, 2019, 2020.
No, that's a separate issue about the status of investigations in the dockets, and we will come to that later on. But we've had evidence, and I'm sure you've seen it, which is the number of meetings that take place, oversight meetings of the political killings task team, including the interministerial committee meetings.
Commissioners, I'm sitting with a budget of over 500 million. And when you look at the workload and the work done, you cannot compare the two, you cannot account for the amount of money. And then, remember, let's look for an example. Cases that, let me answer.
No, because you're not answering the question. You're talking about something else. I just want to talk about the monitoring of the political killings task team. There were oversight bodies that, steering committees, and then the interministerial committee that met, that had oversight of the political killings task team. Do you agree with that?
I don't.
Why don't you agree
We
with
are
that?
part-
That
we are
there are
part-
minutes of meetings.
We are past the ministerial committees now. We are now with the running of the task team. And the running of the task team, I'm saying, if I'm sitting with a situation where every now and then we're asking for 35 million, 20 million, but when you look at the cases that were started in 2018, 2019, are now being finalized now, some of them, and they are still not finalized since 2018, 2019.
No, you're not actually. We will deal with the question of the status of investigations of those dockets that are under the PKTT. We'll get there. I'm merely talking at this stage about monitoring. And in fact, what's included in that monitoring is the decisions that are made and that are signed off at senior level within the service.
Don't agree.
I haven't even finished, and you're saying you don't agree. You don't know what my
I'm
question is.
apologizing, Judge. I really apologize. It won't happen again.
There are budget approvals for the PKTT that take place at least every year. Sometimes it's more than once a year, depending on the period for which the budget is applied. And in those budget approvals, there's an assessment of the PKTT. It's included in the information note. So why would the budget be extended for the PKTT if the assessment was that it was not doing its job?
I really want to answer you, Chair. My problem is that you want one specific answer,
I definitely do.
and that I don't agree with. I'm saying, if you say to me the task teams was monitored, and yet I have dockets that, according to the coordinator, says they were put in a fridge. Dockets, a number of dockets were sitting somewhere in a corner unattended. To me, they were not monitored.
Perhaps, General, let's understand your definition or meaning of monitoring, because we have had evidence, including documentary evidence, as Ms. Hassim says, of meetings, of the structure, of meetings of the IMC, that there were steering committees, approvals of mandate, which include your approving in April 2024, or thereabouts, but in 2024. So we've had that kind of evidence that suggests that there was monitoring of this task team, right? That's the evidence before us. You say there was no monitoring maybe you have a different idea when you say monitoring, and maybe it may be helpful to us if you explain what do you mean by monitoring.
Chair, if you look at all these task teams, 6.4, 0.5.1, all of them as you see them, all of them are the same task team. They perform the same function, different responsibilities or challenges. Now, what I mean when I say there's a criticism here when they say task teams that run rampant for a long period unmonitored.
Sorry, I'm very, very sorry. I apologize for interrupting you mid-sentence. The question by my colleague, Commissioner Baloyi, is a simple one. At the level of principle, aside of looking at particular or specific units or task teams, at the level of principle, what do you consider to be monitoring?
Is what I consider.
So what we expect you to say is a unit or a task team would be properly monitored if A, B, C, D, E happen.
Okay.
It would not be properly monitored if X, Y, Z happen. Just a description at the level of principle.
Thank you, Chair. As far as I'm concerned, if I say a task team is properly monitored, is when it carries out its mandate, number one, as they were established for whatever they were doing, and the effectiveness on carrying out their mandate, focusing on what their mandate is, specifically political killings, over and above, attending to all cases reported, not only selectively and others ignored. And when you look at all those things, there are many reasons that I may mention that says when we say there's proper monitoring, there's inspections being conducted, regular inspections conducted, monitoring of their work, and also proper accountability. That is when I say it is monitored. Now, where there is no proper accountability and no regular, I don't know about regular inspections because I've never inspected their docket, but what I can say, if I'm sitting with such a high number of dockets that were not being attended to, I can't say they were properly monitored. So that is based on that. My reason is not being to be argumentative, but it depends on the level of experience and what I know to say. When we say a task team is being monitored, this is what needs to happen. And all those things were not happening all at the same time.
Ms. Hassim, may I, at the risk of sounding like I'm directing your questioning in a particular direction, may I ask perhaps that we caution ourselves, just on this aspect, just on this one aspect, we caution ourselves not to be sidetracked in this sense. For example, your question, the key issue you want the General to address now is, General, show us where it says the PKTT is to be disbanded. And the General first took us to the second paragraph of 6.4.5. And when he was done with that, you asked him a question, which the upshot of which was this. The General agreed that this was a plan that was being proposed. So I don't see that to say PKTT must be disbanded. So I think let the next step be, take us to where we are told that the PKTT is being disbanded. If you can come back to the monitoring, and he must take us to where this document says the PKTT is being disbanded. The first one, it says plan, period.
Yes.
I'm sorry if I sound like I'm directing you.
Chair, that's fine. the second point he was talking about is
Yes.
task teams that are not monitored.
Yes,
And that's how this opened up the
Yes,
question of,
the
well, is the
question
PKTT one of those or not?
Yeah.
But I'm going to return to it if the chair doesn't mind. However,
Yes.
let's go to the next question. If this isn't the place
Yes,
that
yes.
says that the task teams should be disbanded, it talks about task teams that are not being monitored, etc. And then it says task teams found operating in provinces are as follows, and it lists the task teams. Right. So-
General, sorry, Mr. Sim again. General, you took us here, page 78646.4.5.1. Show us where in 6.4.5.1 this document says PKTT to be disbanded. Show us that, please.
Chair, when you go to the second line, that says, these task teams should be placed within the murder and robbery unit to capacitate and direct.
Where are you
now?
reading from?
Where are you reading?
Line number 2 of bullet number 2. Multiple trio task teams functioning in various provinces. These task teams follow the mandate of the murder and robbery units. These task teams should be placed within the murder and robbery unit. Now, when you talk about multiple trio task teams, it also includes the same mandate.
What mandate?
Like your murders. That's why it must go to murder and robbery, your robbery, your murders.
Okay, so I disagree with you because what you just read refers to the second bullet, which is multiple trio task teams functioning in various provinces. If you look at 6 bullets from the bottom, that's where it deals with the political murders team, which the minister has said is essentially the political killings task team. Do you agree with that?
Before I respond, Chair, I want to ask a question. When a study is being conducted, or this study was conducted, it was not conducted in the name of the PKTT alone. It was conducted when they talk about the task teams. It includes the PKTT. Now,
Yes.
if I'm questioned and expected to say, but show me where specifically the PKTT is mentioned that it must be disbanded. When they talk about all the task teams, including when you look at this bullet that says political murder team, which
Yes.
is the PKTT.
Yes.
Yes. Now, the study was to say we need to capacitate these units that we are re-establishing, like the murder and robbery unit, so that we take all these teams to the unit to build capacity.
General, I understand the point being made by Ms. Hassim to be this. The several bullets that you see under 6.4.5.1 itemize different categories of task teams. That's Ms. Hassim's point. And she says, bullet number 2 that you just referred to is not the same category as as the political murders team bullet. That's a different category. So it's not the same category that you referred to, which is in bullet 2. That's Ms. Hassim's point. So whatever is said in brackets about the task team in bullet 2 is not or does not relate to political murders team, which is a different category.
And
That's the point.
That's quite right, Chair. Thank you for that. And to put it clearly, what you've read in brackets, if it was to apply to all of the task teams, it would have preceded the bullet points, the list of bullet points, right? It would have been an overall heading. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do.
Okay.
And to show that these are different categories, what precedes the bullet says, task teams found operating in provinces are as follows, and then the bullets. So those are different categories. So the political matters team is not the same as the team referred to in bullet 2. That's a simple point. You may pose your question again, Ms. Hassan.
Do you agree with that?
Chair, I don't. I don't.
You don't agree that these are different categories?
No, this I agree that these are different task teams.
Categories.
Okay.
And do you agree that the category itemized in bullet 2 is not the same as the category itemized as political matters team? Obviously, you must agree. You've already just said you agree.
You have
this.
agreed.
You've just agreed that these are different categories. So bullet 2 and the political matters team are different bullets. So you must agree. It's only logical, not so?
I agree, Chair.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So where else then in the document does it talk about the disbandment of the political killings team?
Maybe before you do that, let me just make sure I understand what the General is saying. General, that bullet 2, multi-trio task teams functioning in various provinces, is that the paragraph you rely on to say that there was a decision, management decision to disband the PKTT? Is that what you're doing?
No, Chair. What I'm relying on is the fact that when there's a study that is being conducted that says we've got numerous task teams that are operating in different provinces, and these task teams, they take away the manpower from the units. So let us disband the task team and then let the members be in the unit and strengthen the units. That was the whole idea. So this whole idea starting from re-establishment of the task teams, because when you read the first one that talks about the re-establishment, it also places, it talks about those units like your murder and robbery unit, strike theft and everything, and then from there it will also say give the mandate of each and every one of them, of which it places the political killing task team under the murder and robbery unit.
Allow me to interrupt you. You took us to that paragraph, and I just wanted to understand what meaning, whether you're saying that is the paragraph in this whole document that authorizes, or that where it is decided or recorded that the PKTT was to be dissolved. I think your answer, I want to say your answer is no. From your explanation, it's not the paragraph you're relying on. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so then can you take us, is there anywhere else other than the references you gave us thus far in this report where it says that the PKTT should be disestablished?
Yes. In my case, commissioners, if there's a decision that says we have provincial capacities that exist in provinces that must be closed down to capacitate the units, as far as I'm concerned, it talks about the people that are at the task teams so that the units can be strong. Now, I don't know if I'm allowed to clarify something, like...
Before you clarify, just so that we don't get lost in detail, where is that decision that you've just described now?
Let's go to paragraph 6.4.5 behind. That says, and I'm reading where it says, the reason for the establishment of these units was to...
Were you reading, General?
6.4.5, are you reading 4 lines from the top?
Yes.
Yeah, if you are not starting from the beginning of a paragraph that you are referring us to, General, you should always tell us the line, please. It makes it easier for us to... find where you are reading from. So we do see it. Please read.
But before you read, because we've been here already.
Yeah.
You've read this, and we established that this is the intended plan, right? That was what this report envisaged taking place. This was the plan. It doesn't say that the PKTT should be disbanded.
You see, what I think, firstly, Chair, I think we need to agree that when we talk about the PKTT, let's remove the word PKTT. Let's talk the word task team. Because the moment you bracket me into PKTT, and I'm talking about the task teams, I'm applying the whole bigger picture, and then the evidence leader brackets me and say, no, tell me where it says the PKTT.
No.
Yes, I'll tell you.
Yeah,
Let
you
me
see
explain.
why that is happening, General, is the topic that Ms. Hassim took you to is the disbandment of the PKTT. And she introduced her questioning by asking you where you get, or rather, she said, you say you were not surprised when the PKTT was disbanded. And then she next took you to why that was so. You then said overnight you studied SS47 thoroughly and that you have notes on it. And then Ms. Hassim said, show us where it says, that is SS47, where it says the PKTT is to be disbanded. You took us to 645, you read the first paragraph, then you took us to the second paragraph of 6.4.5. After you had read it, she then asked you, but is it not so that what you have just read was nothing but a plan that was, open quote, being proposed, close quote, and you agreed? So it is on that basis that Ms. Hassim says now, but how can you again take us to 6.4.5 when all that it does is to propose a plan? That's where we are. But now you want to explain, I don't know whether you want to explain around 6.4.5 still.
Chair, I think where it all started is when how I responded was to say there has been a build-up and a series of meetings leading to that. This is how it all started before we got to now the report that was now, where she focused now on the report. But I said how I relied on the fact that I was not surprised because there has been several meetings and consultations before. This is one of the things that made me comfortable to say in any event, there was a study that was conducted, and this study talks about the re-establishment of the specialized unit. Among others is the murder and robbery unit, whose mandate will be to look into the political killings and taxi killings, police killings, all those killings.
Yes, General. We must start somewhere. Yes, you referred to several meetings and documents and so on. We must start somewhere. So we have started with SS47. All that we want, and that was indeed Commissioner Baloyi's question, is for you to show us a decision that says, PKTT, you are now being disestablished or being disbanded. Show us that. You've taken us to 6.4.5. All that we are able to glean from that is a plan that was being proposed. You have taken us to 6.4.5.1. There as well, we see nothing, unless you go back to it and show us, we see nothing that says PKTT, you are being disbanded. We don't see that. Show us, take us, you said you went through this document overnight and that you did so thoroughly. Show us a decision that says PKTT, you are being disbanded.
All I can say, Chair, is that in all these documents, re-establishment and this one of evaluations of the implementation of...
We'll go to, you'll take us to others. You'll take, let's not be disorganized. You'll take us to others, please, General, please. Let's deal with SS47. In SS47, show us where there is a decision that says the PKTT is being disbanded. You'll take us, we will give you the opportunity. You will take us to the next one. We will not gag you in this regard.
Chair, I'm trying to respond now to this question in the overall, because these two documents that I'm sitting with, there is no where it is written PKTT must be disbanded. All of it. Because the document was not only meant for the PKTT, it was meant for all the task teams, which included the PKTT.
Okay.
All right, then.
Can you take
Sure.
us to where in this document it says that task teams should be disbanded?
The reason for the establishment of these units was to ensure that provincial directed investigations,
Sorry, where are you reading from?
6.4.5, line number 1, 2, 3, 4. Then
Are you reading the same thing again?
could be conducted with the alternative function to also replace the numerous task team that were functioning at provincial level, to replace the numerous task teams that are functioning at provincial level.
Right, and we've already gone through this and
So,
you've...
Ms. Hassim, let me try and do something that I'm hoping will be helpful, will get us past this point. General, your 645, that paragraph that you referred to, it starts off, it speaks about provincial investigation units, and it says, the reason for the establishment of these units, which is the part you're reading, was to ensure that provincial directed investigations could be conducted with the alternative function to also replace the task teams that were functioning at the provincial level. Now, if you turn to page 796 of the same document,
I'm getting there.
796 of the same document,
Yes. And 8.10 in particular.
and 11, both 8, 10, and 11. I was going to go to 11. Yeah, at 796. Let's start at 8.11. It reads, the provincial investigating units in the provinces that have been established be closed as discussed in paragraph 6.4.5, 6.4.6, and 7.5. So 8.11, it suggests, it recommends, its recommendations. It recommends the closure of PIUs that have been established. And then 8.10 says current task teams be subjected to an impact analysis by organizational development and strategic management in the province to ensure the feasibility of the existing teams. So 8.10 puts it beyond doubt that this document does not recommend the closing of task teams at all. It says they must be subject to an impact analysis. And then 8.11 says the PIUs that are referred to in the paragraph that you are referring to, 6.4.5, that have been established must be shut down. So 6.4.5 is not where you go when you're looking for a decision, whether there was a decision to close task teams in general or the PKTT. It's not in 6.4.5.
And then
And in fact, 8.10 contradicts what you're saying.
8.13, can I read it, Chair? It says the provincial investigation unit be removed from the structure of the detective service as a prioritization as well as cost-saving measures as referred to in paragraph 6.4.5, 6.4.6, and 6.75. However,
That says nothing. No, before you go to however, can we agree that the text that I have read, that you have read, that the chair and Ms. Hassem have referred to, all of that text, nowhere does it speak about the closure of task teams in general, and nowhere does it mention the closure of the PKTT in particular? Can we at least agree on the text that we have read?
I agree, Chair.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks. And I take it you don't wish to take us to any other part of this report? Can we move off this report then?
Just one last sentence that I want to make, Chair, in relation to this thing. When I'm sitting with a document as approved by the National Commissioner, I understand that the National Commissioner signed it on the 5th of the 6th month. That says implementation to be implemented by the Deputy National Commissioner, Crime Detection and Divisional Commissioner. Implementation of specialized units. Specialized unit meaning including, among others, the murder and robbery unit, which is to take care of the political killing task team. As far as I'm concerned, it was actually dealing with the same issue. But if the commissioners are of the view that for as long as there's no weight that says disband the PKTT, then all this is irrelevant, I will then accept. There's not much I can say about it.
Or any task team? The document doesn't recommend disbanding any task team.
But this document clearly deals with the rampant task schemes that are existing, and it says they take capacity from they disempower the units, they impoverish the units. And I'm trying to find a gap of explaining something, but I'm not, because I don't want to go to look like I'm just rampant.
There are 2 points here. The first is that it says that current task teams must be subject to an impact analysis. Right? Right? So, presumably, once an impact analysis is done, there will be an evidence-based decision of which task teams are to be disbanded, correct?
Yes.
And this document was only signed off in June 2025, right?
Yes.
And that was well after the decision was made.
Yes.
6 months.
Yes.
Okay. So the second event that you said, why this is no...
Just before that, General, also, you remember yesterday, I asked you a question whether you accept that there's a difference between task teams and units, and you accepted that there is a difference.
Yes, yes, Chair.
What my colleague Commissioner Baloyi took you to, that is paragraphs 8.10 and 8.11, they don't deal with the same subject matter. 8.10 deals with task teams. And it doesn't say task teams are to be closed or disbanded. It says they are to be subjected to an impact analysis. And then 8.11 says provincial investigation units that have been established be closed. So units. So there's a conscious distinction by the drafters to refer to task teams and to units. And task teams under which the PKTT falls are to be subjected to an impact analysis. So there's simply no question of a recommendation for the disbandment of the PKTT or any other task team for that matter. So your problem seems to be that you use task team and unit interchangeably, which is wrong. Do you accept that?
Can I ask the Chair a question?
No, please respond to mine.
that I can't distinguish between a test team and a unit.
Maybe you can, but in the testimony you are giving now, you are simply using the two terms interchangeably. I'm not suggesting that you don't know which is which. 8.10 addresses task teams, and those are to be subjected to an impact analysis. And 8.11 addresses provincial investigation units, in respect of which the recommendation is that they should be closed. So simple point is, nowhere do we see anything that recommends closure in respect of task teams, a category under which the PKTT falls.
Chairperson, let me accept and move on.
Please, thank you.
Thank you. Chair, it is 1 o'clock. It might be an opportune time.
Let's adjourn and resume at 2 p.m.
Thank you.